السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الحق وكشف الله به الأمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. اللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم احنا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته وأجبنا حوضه وصلنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم اجمع بيننا وبينهم كما آمنا به ولم نره، ولا تفرق بيننا وبينه حتى تدخلنا مدخله. ثم أما بعد. Last time we discussed what Imam Ghazali mentioned in this book, Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin, Fri Oct particularly, when he talked about alamat husn al-khuluq, the signs that shows. Okay. We can please in the back keep it quiet. Our brothers. Jazakumullah khairan. We talked about husn al-khuluq and the signs of a good character. Then here today he will address the way of raising young children and how it's important that we train them from the very beginning how to behave and to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in everything they do. He said, رضي الله عنه, اعلم أن الطريق في رياض الصبيان من أهم الأمور. To understand how to raise a child is extremely important. All these adab and akhlaq he talked about, it's much easier to bring to the heart of a child, because children, as he said, are like open page that nothing is written there, and whatever you write there will stay forever. There's a saying in Arabic says, "Al-hifdh fi al-sighar kan-naqsh al-hajar." Whatever the kids learn when they were young, it's like engraving it in a stone. It stays there forever. And he emphasized that the children are amana, and it is an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as he said also that, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum naran waquduha an-nas wal hijara. Allah said to us, protect yourself and protect your family members from hellfire. And he said all parents will do whatever they can to protect their children from the fire of this dunya, and they should also be more concerned about the fire of al-akhirah. Right? When our children get some fever and we run and try to see doctors and give them the medicine, we cannot see our children sick. And we must be actually more concerned about the suffering in the hereafter. So we ought to pay so much attention to our children. It's also important to know that even in the children of the khulafa, the sultans, and those who are in these higher political positions, they used to hire people to raise their children. The king or the caliph is so busy, he's of course wealthy, but he usually invite people, scholars, to raise their children up. And usually they send their children actually to grow up in a harsher place, because they don't want their children to be very soft, growing up in palaces and eating the best food and wearing the best clothes and applying the best perfume. That is not how you raise a child. Imam Ghazali actually emphasized these values. And as we will see now, he gave us some advice on how to raise our children. What are the good characters, the akhlaq that we have to train them on. So, interestingly, the first thing he said, Imam Ghazali, is that when you have a child, in the old days, mothers don't nurse their children. Usually hire a lady called Murda. We know the story of the Prophet ﷺ when Halima Sa'diyya came and took him. She took him mainly to nurse him, and she get paid by this. All right? The Arab used to say, "Tajur al-hurratu wa ta'kulu bithadayha." I mean, the hurra does not nurse children for even for money. So this job was there, Murda. So Imam al-Ghazali said that the first thing is that he should, and this by the way applies to us in somehow. He said that he should choose a woman to nurse him, a woman who is righteous and who does not eat except from halal. Why is that? The first thing he mentioned, that you hire a lady to nurse your child, and this lady should be known as a righteous lady who does not eat from haram. Why is that? He said because this laban, this milk that comes from food, haram food, then this milk will be contaminated. And when the child actually gets this milk, this will affect his or her personality. We know in Sharia, يحرم من الرضاعة ما يحرم من النسب. Rasulullah said that if one lady, nursed two children, a boy and a girl, this boy and girl cannot marry each other. They are like brothers and sisters, right? Male brother and sister. They cannot marry each other, right? So why? Because they both were nurtured from the same woman. So this milk, as Rasulullah said, مَأَنْبَتَ اللَّحْمَ وَأَنْشَزَ الْعَظْمَ. This milk causes the flesh and the bones to grow. So it becomes part of you. So this girl got the same milk, so it's like your sister. You cannot marry her. That's a very well established ruling in Islam. And Rasulullah also in another hadith said, وَكُلُّ جِسْمٍ نَبَتَ مِنْ سُحْتٍ فَالنَّارُ أَوْلَى بِهِ. Everybody nurtured by haram, the hellfire is, abad, or the abad will be the hellfire. It will be burned by the hell. So that's why it's very important that we don't eat or feed our children any money or anything that is not haram. And of course, eating linguistically can refer to the food we eat or anything we consume. Right? Like in the surah, in Surah Nisa, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا. Those who eat, who devour the properties and the wealth of the orphans, they eat nothing but fire. So the ulama said it's not only food. If you take the money of an orphan and buy a car or a clothes or buy a house, it's as if you consumed it. So eating here does not refer only to the food. So if someone made money out of haram, and he knows it's haram, and then he spent this money on his children, whether for feeding them or clothing them, and so on, this will directly affect the children. You got this point. So we have to make sure that we don't feed our children or spend on them except from halal and pure money. And he said that you need to also observe the personality of a child. The first thing, the first good sign that this child has good akhlaq is al-haya. Haya, shyness. That they feel shy to do something wrong, naturally and by their own inner nature or fitrah. The first sign of a good fitrah is when a child is shy to steal or to lie or to do something shameful. And once you see this, you need actually to work on this and invest on this. And he said, this is a sign that they know what's right and what's wrong naturally. And we have been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and are given this instinct. But we know what's right and what's wrong. Right? That's why Rasulullah ﷺ advised us, if you don't know what's right and what's wrong, ask your heart before asking others. because you can tell that, you know, that's inappropriate, that's not right. Something tells me, I don't feel comfortable doing that, right? So this is a sign that this child has a good akhlaq. And the first thing of the bad akhlaq appears is eating so much. Something that we actually have to think about. Ashara of the ta'am. They want to eat at all times, and they eat whatever they want, eating and eating and eating. So this becomes something that really should raise our concern. This is not to say that we should starve our children and not to provide for them, but one of the problems we have here in America in particular, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed us with so many things, but our pantry rooms are full of food and candies and cookies and things, and kids have access to this all day long. I remember when we were young, when you get like candy, that you really feel very happy that you got like a piece of candy, you know. Or ice cream, when you get ice cream, sometimes in Eid, that makes Eid, you know, you got ice cream. But now when you get all these tons of ice cream and pour it in the fridge, and kids all the time go back and forth. They have no discipline. He said that's a sign that a child lost has no discipline, and we need to discipline them. That they should eat only in the time assigned for food, and they eat with the right hand, and they remember the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and does not eat so rapidly and so quickly, and so on. One of the things that Imam Ghazali mentioned here has to do with their time, but he said he should not get used to eat the best bread. From time to time they may want to eat, you know, low quality bread. And bread at that time, by the way, bread was the best. You know, we have bread, that's like meat. And he said that it's because if you got used to this high quality food, then in a situation when this high quality food is not available, then they will not get used to it. And there was a story of this prince or one of the royal family members. He sent his child to the Bedouins just to teach him how to be tough and to eat whatever available and to live in this harsh environment. And he told this Bedouin guy who has like 10 or 11 children, he said, I want you to take care of my child. I want him to be strong and tough and so on. I know it's going to be difficult, but he said, don't worry, you'll be fine, leave him. So this child came from a very wealthy family, and he went, and these Bedouins, they eat twice a day, that's it. And this guy comes, and when his wife cooks whatever available, and they put the food, and he calls, all children will come. In 0 time, the food is over. That's it. And afternoon, the same thing happened. And of course, this child did not run, and he went there and he looked at the food and how kids, you know, come together and eat. He said, no, I'm not going to eat this. And this man said, fine. The next day, the same thing happened. The boy was very hungry. He didn't eat for a day. And again, he knew the system. He heard the call, everybody comes, put the food, they eat together, done. And the 3rd day, his father came to see him. So he came from far and just was observing what will happen. And he saw that, he called for the food, and his son was the first one to run and the first one to eat with his own hand. And that's it, and he was very surprised. And I told him, what did you do? He said, I've done nothing. That's what we do, and he was hungry, and then when he's hungry, he ate. I'm not suggesting to do that, but what I'm saying here is that it's even wealthy people, if we have, you know, to provide the best food, children also from time to time need to understand that this is the food available today. And they do it intentionally from time to time, so they don't eat every day, you know, high quality food, and you have tons of food in front of them. That's not good. That's not good to get used to this. And also we need to teach them that food is medicine. Food is like medicine. We eat food for a reason. We eat for a reason, not only to satisfy our desire, but also to fulfill our duties, to be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek knowledge and do our, fulfill our responsibilities. So we are eating for a reason. That's important to make this point. Why are we eating? Now, because food is delicious. Is this the only thing? The only reason why we eat? No, we eat to be strong. And Allah wants us to be strong, so we are strong, we can fulfill our duties towards Allah, family, self, and so on and so forth. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Abasa, Surah Abasa wa Tawalla, فَلْيَنْظُرُ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَى طَعَامِهِ. We should also talk to our children about the source of the food. Where did this food come from? Oh, you study biology in school, you study something about, water cycle and so on. So we need to actually talk about the source of the food. It's not the Father who provides this food for them, it's Allah who provides this for all of us. So that's why we have to be thankful to Allah. We have to mention the name of Allah in the beginning, and we have to say the dua, Alhamdulillah alladhi at'amana wa saqana wa ja'alana muslimin. They have to say this every time they eat. They need to understand Allah is the provider, not the father or not the mother who cooked the food. Right? We have to always talk about these things. Also, it's important to teach them the concept of ithar, of preferring others over ourselves. Right? This adab of ithar is diminishing in our culture here. Everybody think only of himself. This is our culture, liberal individualism. That's iPhone, iPad, and whatever is it's me. I am the center of the world. This is what liberalism teaches, right? Individualism. Everything around me, my choice, my desire, I want. That's what our kids always say, I need this. That's why I ask them, do you need or you want? There's a big difference between what we need and what we want. The liberal society provide for people what they want, not what they need. People put pressure on their representatives and then they make laws, right? And representatives listen to what people want. So our children grow up in this environment, that they get what they want, not what they need, right? So the concept of ithar, at times when I'm traveling or in a camp or in a picnic and we're running out of water and so on, then we have to encourage them to practice this ithar, that you have your own water but you would give it to someone else, although you need it. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. Selfishness is the norm. Selfishness is the norm. Arabs used to say that this person is more stingy than a child. أَبْخَلُ مِنْ طِفْلٍ. أَبْخَلُ مِنْ طِفْلٍ means that atfal, naturally, kids are selfish. If a child has something, he likes a toy or something, and just snatch it from his hand, what will they do? They will cry, right? And when they see something they like in the hand of someone else, they will go and snatch it from them. Kids are selfish. And some people grow up, and some people, don't grow up. Some people grow up and understand selfishness is bad. That's why Islam always teaches us to give, to share, to fast, to control this selfishness. But some people will grow with this child still inside of them. They cannot give up something they like. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised Al-Ansar because they يُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. They prefer others upon themselves, although they are in need. Although they are in need. So we have to teach our children al-ithar, right? And believe me, it works. When we talk about al-ithar, the importance of ithar and how bad selfishness is, talk to them so much about this. And usually kids fight over candy, over this and that, games. When you see kids fight over these things, so tell them who's going to make ithar and get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Believe me, sometimes I'll do ithar. So ithar is good, one of makarim al-akhlaq that we have to instill in our children. Also, he talked about ta'aleem. As you know, in that time, culture, the first thing kids learn is Quran. The word madrasa, or kuttab in some Arabic countries, called al-kuttab. It's known as a madrasa in India or Pakistan. So they send their children, all our great scholars, all of them, the first thing they did is Hifz al-Quran. If you read the biography of any great scholar, you see, okay, he finished Al-Quran at the age of 10, or 11, or 12. And it was genius. He finished Quran quickly, 3 years, done. Right? So one of the things that we need to also understand is that children have this amazing ability of memorizing things, learning things. Sending them to school to know Al-Quran and story of righteous people and so on. Imam Ghazali warned against teaching them the literature of poem and love anecdotes. A poem could be good and evil, depends on the content inside, right? So when you know the Arabic and grammar and Quran and so on, it's okay to memorize some verses of poetry. علموا أولادكم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال فإن من البيان إن من البيان لسحرا وإن من الشعر لحكمة إن من البيان لسحرا. Eloquence act like magic sometimes when someone very eloquent. He affects thousands, if not millions of people. And you can see this eloquent, like Martin Luther, for example, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X. These people are very eloquent. When they speak, they just capture the heart and the mind of people. وَإِنَّ مِنَ الشِّعْرِ لَحِكْمَةً. Plenty of hikmah and wisdom in share. So teach them these things. He also said that when they do good things, reward them. When they do good things, and the reward could be a nice word to praise your child, especially in front of people, and this actually, encourage them to do it more, right? However, I think also in our culture, our kids are very spoiled in a way, so they want to be rewarded for every good thing they do, right? I'm finished this health, what are you going to get me? They are very materialistic, naturally growing in this materialistic society. I organized my room and I did my bed, so what are you going to get me? You don't have to get everything that's a normal thing, that's what you're supposed to do. Right? But Imam Ghazali is referring to the good akhlaq and good things they do, then praise them, say a nice word to them, give them something, but this should not be always have every time they do something that they're supposed to do, they expect something in return. Right? Similarly, he said when he misbehaves sometimes or makes something wrong, it's always good to overlook. They always say that wise people can pretend foolish, but foolish people cannot pretend wise. Have you heard this before? So, wise people can let go, play dumb. They can overlook things. They pretend that they don't understand, they don't know. Sometimes it's good to overlook things. Let things go. It's not a major, it's not like something big. Let go. But if this happens a number of times, then what should we do? He said, in this case, you need to talk to them privately. Don't talk in front of other people. And don't be so rough, tough, otherwise he will not listen to you. When you talk to your children, let them understand that we're talking about serious things. Right? So next time when you call him, come and I want to talk to you, then he knows there's something. Right? Screaming and shouting will not really do the trick. Especially if you keep doing it all the time. Rebuke them. Right? Reprove them. Imam Ghazali said that they're going to get used to it. And that's true. If you keep rebuking them every time they do something wrong, and kids always do wrong things, then they'll get used to it. It's not going to be effective. Right? Blaming them all the time is not going to work. قل اللوم عادل والعتابة قولي إن أصبت فقد أصاب الجرير said in his shirt أقل اللوم. So blaming people every time you do something imperfectly, you blame them, then people will not like it. Right? Also, he talked about this concept of modesty we talked about, or al-iffa, that he should not look at what's in the hand of others. Never look at the hand of those who have something you don't have. Because no matter how you provide for your children, there will be other families who can afford more to their children. Right? And this is something kids actually pay attention to. They want to get what others get. The same sneakers and the same shirts and the same backpack and the same tablets and the same phone and the same thing. Kids always look at what others have. From the very beginning, we need to train them. We don't want to get everything we like simply because everybody has it. Especially when it comes to electronics. Because very attractive electronics now that create a totally different world for children. Take them away from parents, from family, and everybody has his own world. And they live with you in the same house, but they have their own friends and chats and news and so on and so forth. So we have to be careful. Of course, this is something that we need to talk more in depth about. But generally speaking, that Imam Ghazali said we should teach them that giving is better than taking. Okay, don't take things from people. Because if they got used to this, they will grow up with this sense of inferiority. They will always wait for people to give them something. That's not good. Yeah, kids naturally they don't know. They want to get things. Also teach them that the hand that gives is better than the hand that takes. Right? Don't hope to get anything from people. Always give, but don't expect things from people. He also talked about that they should actually be encouraged to move, not sleep during the daytime. They should walk or practice any kind of sports. Extremely important. Very important. He said, ويعود المشي والحركة والرياضة حتى لا يغلب عليه الكسل, so that they don't get lazy. They just eat anytime they want, and they sleep, and they stay in their beds, doing nothing, and time runs by, and then they have to fill their time with something. So teach them that they should keep moving, not to be lazy and gain weight, no, to walk, go and play sports, be part of any team. Find sports that you find, that interest you, and go and do it. They should not be proud of what his parents have. So don't take from people, and don't also brag about, the car your father drives, or the house you live in, and so on. That's not. They should actually be humble, and they should be nice to everybody. When it comes to the social akhlaq, he said that we must teach our children when they are in a gathering, they should not spit or put their fingers in their nostrils, and they should not put one leg on the top of the other. In many cultures, that's very unacceptable. It's an insult. When you sit, your father or your uncles are sitting and you just put one leg on the top of the other. Here in America, it's like freedom. Everybody has one. But what are these things that they should, when they are sitting down, sometimes when sitting in a living room, and you have elders coming, especially when you have a lot of people around, and they must learn that they should give their seat to the elders. Kids need to learn these things from the very beginning. Right? They don't walk in front of their parents. Right? Or they do things, or keep talking, or mention people, their absence and so on. They should learn how to listen more than speaking. They must listen. Right? It's not to say that they should not speak. They should speak if they want, but now they speak more than they listen. These kind of adab must be maintained. And he said also one of the important things is to keep them away from bad friends, bad people. That's key, because as we all know, he said that the influence of their peers on them is tremendous. This peer pressure is very dangerous. So we have to keep them away from. We have to make sure that they are friends of good kids who are coming from good families. And stay away from bad kids. By the way, sometimes that's not easy, because if a child, boy or girl, love someone, it's very difficult to tell them that they are not good. And they don't understand how influential these kids on them. Right? We can see this. Sometimes we see a child saying bad words. Where did you get this from? Oh, I heard people saying. You know, it's very difficult. Very difficult. So we have to explain to them why. You know, it's better not to be friend of this person because they don't have good akhlaq and they're affecting you. He talked about entertainment, and he said from time to time they need to have some time to play, especially when they come from school. They should be allowed to play and have some fun, because if it's all studying and reading and have no fun, then that's not going to work. Imam Ghazali also said that it's important to let them understand that this dunya is very short and that's not the real life. Is it too early? It's not too early. We always need to remind them that we are here for a short period of time. Death will come to everybody. We don't know when, where, and how, but we are not going to stay here forever. We're going to die, and this life is nothing but a test. So we have to be prepared for the life after. We have to do what will help us, inshallah, achieve Jannah and so on. And all these things, when they are given to our children when they were young, and as they grow, these principles will stay with them, as if they are written on a stone. No one can take them away. And every one of us remember either a parent or uncle or cousin or sheikh or imam or teacher or grandfather who told us something that really helped shape us. And we cannot forget these advice or these teachings. It's very important. Whatever they learn when they went, and they will remember these things. They will remember these things. We were young and our parents disciplined us. So at that time we didn't understand what's the big deal about this. The word, everybody is saying this word. So why is halal for everybody and haram for us? You know? and we don't understand why. Sometimes they are very strict from us. And as we grow up, we understood why they did what they did. It's always good. I strongly believe that why Salah is important. I always have discussion with my children. Just ask this question and just listen to their answers. Of course, the answer would vary from one age to the other, but it's always good to have this kind of discussion. Let them try to answer this question, and you'll be surprised how the answer could be very good and very accurate. All right, and then you give your own answer later on. Listen to everybody, and then you give your understanding of why Salah is important. What are the objectives of Salah? And Ramadan, the same thing. Why do we fast? Right? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to fast? Right? And listen to their answer, and then you give your input there. Right? So it's not. Then they feel that they own it. It's not something that has been imposed on them. That they do it with love because they understand that's the right thing to do. I will stop here, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you have any comment or question before we end. And inshallah next week we'll be talking about important things, and that has to do with mujahada against our own selves. Very important. So inshallah we'll talk about this next week, inshallah. Comments or questions before we conclude? Yes.
The training of children. Suppose you said when they reach 7th and start teaching them Islam, about Islam, and when they reach 10th, then force them to pray or do Islamic or Islamic?
No. This has to do with prayer in particular. علموا أولادكم الصلاة وهم أبناء سبع. You have to teach them how to pray when they're 7. Okay? And discipline them if they neglected the prayer when they're 10 years old. However, kids learn from our behavior perhaps more than they learn from our words. They may forget the words, but when they see the parents praying in the masjid or praying at home, jama'ah, consistently, then even if they are before 7, they will consider this part of their routine. And then you need, at the age of 7, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that teach them how to pray. When they pray, when they make mistakes, that's fine. They sometimes make wrong sujood or they look around and things. But when they're 7, they need to understand that this is what you need to do it. And then you add more detail as they grow up. But if they attain the age of 10 and they are not still praying on time, then you have to show them that's very serious business, that you need to be consistent with your prayer.
This does not apply on the fast.
Huh?
This does not apply on.
It does apply to everything. It applies to everything. In Siyam, for example, the Rubayya bint Muawwid, she said that, the hadith also in the Sahih, that we used to train our children to fast, and when they get hungry afternoon, then they give them these dolls so they can play with it just to forget about hunger. So we don't want to be one extreme or take one extreme or the other. One extreme is to, like, I've seen people, girls 2 or 3 years old, putting hijab on them all the time. And that's crazy. Oh, we want to train them. Train them what? So there's no taklif for children. Yes, the concept of training them, doing good things, but you cannot ask a 3 or 4 years old to fast the whole month. That's impossible. Or to pray 5 times a day and all sunnah before and sunnah after that. That's too much. Just take it gradually, naturally. Age of 7 is very important, and then 10, and then, so that the point is that when the time comes when they are fully responsible, they are ready. If you start asking them to pray for the first time at the age of 15, it may be difficult. Allahu A'lam. The Arabic poem said that وَيَنْشَأُ نَاشُ الْفِتْيَانِ مِنَّا عَلَى مَا كَانَ عَوَّدَهُ أَبُوهُ. A child will grow up based on what his father taught him, by word, by action. So it's normal to see a child doing what his dad is doing, right? This does not apply in all cases, there are exceptions, but usually children imitate their parents. They know that their parents are absolute, they're good, they're always doing the right thing, right? Maybe they find out later that's not the case, but this is how children do. They have trust in their parents. My father did this, it must be right. And then my teacher said this. Sometimes actually they take what the teacher said more seriously than what the parents said. I remember my daughter, she was here in Noor Academy, and she memorized Surah Al-Kafirun, and there was like mispronunciation, and I corrected it. She said, no, the teacher told us this way, so the teacher must be right. I said, okay, but listen to me, I know, yes. And she was arguing, 4 or 5 years old. Because children, they assume what the teacher said is absolutely right. So then they will have their own personality later on when they grow up, but in this age and time, they take from, and they have very good ability in observing things. They observe things you may not even pay attention to. You'll be surprised how they are influenced by things that we don't even pay attention to. So leading by example is very important. They used to take their children with them to the masajid, attend the Eid, because again, we remember things, when we were very young. I remember when my dad used to take me to the masjid, and listen to the khutbahs and things. I remember very well these things. So it became part of who we are. It's part of our identity. Bringing them to Eid, especially in America, is not luxury. It's very essential. Even if you don't understand anything with the khutbah, that's not important. More important is just to witness this gathering and to know Eid is coming, and now Eid will get some cash and we'll have new clothes and we have allowance to eat more candy or ice cream and stuff like this. That's why the word Eid comes from repetition. It happens all the time. So it becomes part of them. I've seen many people are extremely liberal or secular, nothing, but Eid for them is a must. They must come for Eid because this is who they are. So bringing them to the masajid, to Taraweeh, Eid, is important. Taking them for Hajj or Umrah, taking children to Umrah is a very good idea. Just to connect them to the Prophet ﷺ, Medina, Mecca, Kaaba, is very important. Stay in their mind for as long as they live. Allahu A'lam. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.